I don't know, man. It's like I had to take the orientation for real estate real estate license. I want to be a realtor. Well, you gotta have a webcam and a mic, and I was like, oh man. So I had to dig that out. Not exactly set up I wanted or whatever, but it got me through the class, a 3 hour class and everything. And now, I'm more orientated and everything. I don't know. It's just really simple, simplistic, whatever, procedural, whatever. Taking the classes for, real estate. Now I just got to know the actual paper aspect of it. A lot of money out there, so it's not that big of a deal. Got to learn how to do it. Have somebody trust their biggest asset with you. But I'm probably they usually say it takes about 2 years before you actually get a sale. And 80% of the people that take the class drop out the first year. Second year, 80% of those people drop out. So you're looking at attrition 95% after 2 years because they can't afford it. But I mean, I'm not too concerned about it because I already know what makes people drop out, and it's not being financially capable of maintaining them in that profession, and they can't continue it on because they can't put food on the table and pay for their bills, and I already made sure I accounted for that. Okay, so I'd be all right. But the thing is, like, when I started, is like, how many sales do I actually need of selling real estate before I actually buy a property? And I think I already resolved that. I'm not going to get into it. So, gotta have good credit. You always look for someone to fund yourself. You always look for somebody fund, but I think I'll be all right. I'll be able to do that. I just start buying properties. It'd be okay. I think selling other people's properties, which is basically what I'm doing. That's what being a realtor is. It's not like developing or anything. It's just someone else's project, some other person's property. I'll be all right because one sale is $10,000, and I'll be able to have some cash on me and having a different revenue stream for that. But anyway, so I did that. Never too much. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have a poor grammar, whatever. Probably never had good grammar. I could read like the motherfucking wind, man. It's relatively easy. And I could put things together relatively quickly. I just lay back. I just don't care. It doesn't really matter to me. Because it's all nonsense. The world's a facade, man. It's just bullshit. It's just a bullshit act. You know what I mean? It's just like, really? It doesn't. You don't even care. You don't even have to worry about it, man. Because you always got up here. You already know. You know what I'm talking about. So, only got that. You'd be all right. It's like when I took the notary test. Simple thing. But I'm sitting there. They, I had to take a test, to say like I'm doing something. But person took like took the test twice, 3 times. Someone that took it like 7 times still didn't pass it. That's why I just took it, passed it, or whatever. But I mean, it's just easy. These things are made for you to pass. I don't know why people can't figure it out. You know what I mean? It's just very straightforward. That's all it is. We live in bureaucracy. You know what I mean? It's like all you got to do is find what brings in the most money and do that. I don't understand it. It's not I mean, you don't have to worry about it. And the bullshit people, we're taught when we grow up that you got to fuck over people, you got to bullshit, you got to lie, whatever. But the truth is, you do the opposite. Just chill, be laid back. I mean, do it smartly, whatever, But work with the system. And there's a lot of money out there. You don't have to do shit all fucked up. They want you to not do something correct. They want a reason to justify the racism. They want you to be, a criminal and all this stuff. But remove that. Don't do anything wrong. You know what I'm saying? Work with the system. Change the system. You know what I mean? Embrace the system. Be like, all right, see how it could work for me. And you put your hustle, your hard work in, whatever, and you just bump it up and you money. That's all, that's all. Really. I'm not worried about it. Everybody else worried about it, I'm not worried about it. It's like, stuff I got to worry about is learning all that fucking how to do it, because it's just going to be tedious, but you just gradually build on it, build on it, build on it. So that's what I did. I had to build this up. And now I'm finishing out some of my wardrobe. I got some pants and everything. Whatever. Um, whatever. Got my car, shit. I'm good. Probably just I'm just waiting on my business cards. But I'm set. I mean, anyways, the gradual boom. Thing just take off. Talk about I'm ready. Anyways, so I can't sleep. I was thinking like we got these supply chain issues and shit, right? So like, what are we gonna do? We got boats hanging out there chilling. There's no one. All this kind of shit, whatever out there. Like, what's out there? Everything. I'm like, all right. Why is everything out there, man? It was like they're all talking like, it's like, yeah, man, there it is. It's right there. We just gotta grab it. We shouldn't have to grab it. We shouldn't grab shit. We already have it in the United States. That's the problem. Everything is coming in when everything should be going out. You know what I mean? So right now, we know we can survive with the supply chain issue and COVID or whatever. We should just rip it off like a band-aid. And everything coming in from other countries, we're beholden to what they want and what they need. If they want mass to hold it, they want this to hold it. It's already building in the United States. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we look at them like, oh, well, they're so smart, whatever. All they do is walk across the fucking street. Like, oh, that's how you build that CPU? I'm going to do the same goddamn thing. And since their national government don't give a fuck, what I'm talking about? It's just like, I'll build it until someone says something. So a national law says, oh, well, that's copyright infringement. So, all right, so that's copyright infringement. So they get slapped on the wrist or whatever. They just make another company and just do it. When all they do is walk across the goddamn street. When it's our IP and our innovation. So we just got to bring that back to the United States and start doing it. So they're cut off at this level of innovation. We could just have everything controlled better over here and we get those jobs. And we only thing we need to bring in is raw materials. We don't have finished products or halfway finished products and assemble it here. It's all done over here. We know we could survive, But that's not what I was getting at. But it gives a background to it. What I'm getting at, whatever. So we could do that. Take about a couple years to do, maybe a generation to do, but the faster we do it, the better, right? But here's the thing is, if you look at war and everything like that, because it's basically an economic war, like how are we going to have our industry from this point forward be consolidated? One of the biggest industries coming up is the space industry. Everything's going to be done on space. The majority of the income that we're going to have as a nation is going to come from space relatively soon. So everything needs to be consolidated within the United States. And we need to control that to make sure we have that. So every rocket, every spaceship, every technology needs to be made in the United States. So we know everything there is, from beginning to end, to R&D, to production, to selling it, to the feedback from the customers. It's all in this as fast as loop as we can within the United States. So our loop of research, development, production, selling it back to us. Because here's the thing is, in war, whatever. You had Hannibal, right? Conquered Italy, but he couldn't really conquer it because once he conquered an area, he would impose a military dictatorship, right? So he won every battle, but he couldn't win. Why? Because like Romans were like, here you could have a democracy. So they're like, well, if we could have our own people voting, well, we're gonna have that. So Hannibal came in, he conquered the area, he made a military dictatorship, but he couldn't stay in one area because he had to keep moving around. As soon as he left, they're like, okay, I'm going to be a democracy. As soon as they got here, it was like, oh man, we can't beat Hannibal. Fuck that shit. You know what I'm talking about? So they would help him. And as soon as he leave, so he kept moving around, whatever, right? Because, Hannibal came over the Alps and shit like that. Um, Won a couple of battles. We can't beat him. Uh, and finally, they found somebody's like, they can beat Hannibal. Called Flavian. He made a consul called the Flavian Doctrine. So they basically shadowed him and slashed and burned and made sure that he can get supplies. And they were whittling him down, but he only had a year. And like, oh man, this ain't working. Can't use the Flavian strategy. Flavian strategy was working. Like, oh man, we can't do that. So they pitched him in a battle, right? They found him by this one town on the east coast of Italy and shit right there. And he had his Gallic, northern Po Valley allies up there, that when he used to be Gallic over there. And they hated Rome, right? He fought for Hannibal because Hannibal was basically a general of like Hispania, other Iberians, obviously people from Carthage, their Italic allies, Latins, Etruscans, or whatever, but a lot of northern Italians, whatever, Gaelic, right? They hated Italy, so they were on the front line because Italy went up into northern Italy and tried to trick them, try to depopulate them, try to commit genocide. So they fought on the front line and Hannibal knew that. So they fought on the front line to the man. And when two people go at it, each one wants to stays alive or whatever, right? But the Gallic Italians just held there for like hours, to the day into the night, and got the Roman war machine slowly grinding them down, killing them they can, just rotating, and they're swinging themselves out, going after these Gallic Italians. Finally, they reached a breaking point because they weren't moving. Refused to move. They hated the Romans, wanted to kill as many as they could, right? That Roman line just started to gradually just push into them as they're killing these Gallic. They're just pushing more into them. You know what I'm talking about? Days just going on. It was 8-10 hours after this shit is grinding it out. They finally had them. And they fought a staggered retreat because they just weren't going to give in. They weren't going to give in to these Romans. They wanted to kill them. And the Romans like, here we are. We could depopulate the last of these Gallic people, right? And so finally, Rome committed themselves late in the day. Started now pursuing them. These Gallic people. 100, 200 yards, 100 yards. After they've been fighting all day. Going down, and they're killing one, a few here, a few there, and they're getting dispersed. The line's breaking up. Fight's almost over for them. You know? They have victory. Hard, you know. I'm talking about. Got to do this. Got to get rid of this threat, this menace. You know. I got him. Drone pushes in all the way in. Finish them off, you know, because they're dying. They're fuck this shit. And all of a sudden, Hannibal closes the trap from either side. Fresh troops, Carthaginians, his rural elites have watched this whole thing, saw them swing themselves out and just basically exhaust them holding the shield all day. Slowly start marching in unison on either side onto the Romans. They have, you know, heavy infantry, the diehard loyalists. They watched those Gallic people give their lives. And that place could be up in rebellion. They didn't care. They're not Northern Romans. They don't give a shit about them. So, like whatever, you know. How cold it was, and they started compressing them. And one of Hannibal's generals wheeled around, got the Gallic general, told him to rally his troops. Now they have him on three sides because now they're compressing him, fighting him slowly as a machine on either side, and Rome has nothing left. And then the Gallic reform up after having about half their casualties, you know, being obliterated. Now they have three sides of that, pressing, pushing them in, you know, with the shield wall. Tens of thousands of people. And then finally, Hannibal releases his last thing. He has his Nubian cavalry. They wheel around, close the fucking door. Now they're just pressed. It took them like late into the night do what they needed to do, but killed them to a man. They were compressed so much that they couldn't even lift their hands. But in actuality, I don't even think they could had the ability to lift their hands. They were so tired. Slaughtered them. They got rid of Rome's fighting force for like a generation. So, are we lost to China with the production? Maybe we're lost for a generation. But we could make moves down to augment that. But what Rome did was pretty remarkable. One person survived that battle. He was a young guy. He fought his way out. His name was Scipio. He rallied his troops and he was able to fight his way back to Rome. The reason why he was able to do it because his dad and his uncle were also a general. And actually, his grandfather was also a general, and they're Scipio. So he comes from a generational line of generals, right? Young man born into that knew what Hannibal could. So Rome's just like, fuck. You know, they had their best general. They didn't listen to Flavian. Because the guys that wanted to go after him, they got obliterated. After they already lost, they sent their best generals out. They're like, don't fight him. Can't. We're not going to lose you. People that performed all right, we can't lose you either. They sent them over to Spain. Like, fight Carthage over there. And for the next 10 years, 10, 15 years, Scipio was learning from his dad and his uncle how to general. And so they killed and destroyed the enemy where they weren't, getting Spain on their side, the Iberians, the Carthaginian, the Greeks that are over there, the other mixed Carthage. Well, actually, it was the Phoenicians and the Celtics up in the northeast by Leon. All mixed or whatever. It's like different tribes with different. Negotiating, maneuvering over 10, 15 years, gradually building up these alliances. And so they gradually would take Spain away from Carthage. So they sent out force to rebuild, to conquer where they weren't. Like, oh, we're outdone over here. But, they're what we do have and do where our talent does the most good. Counterattack. Finally, they're watching Hannibal. They still, Rome never produced somebody that could beat Hannibal. They literally did not. What Scipio did was took 20 years of his life getting people that watched Hannibal, watched him with his elephants, watched every little thing they did. They put everything they could into a group of people and put it into a person of Scipio, that's motivated to kill and defeat him. Because what it was is Scipio was there leading it. He was determined. He knew he had all the generals behind that knew all these different tactics over years. They were taught how to beat one person in one battle. And they made sure that one battle dictated how they won. If it was somewhere else, they wouldn't beat Hannibal. One specific location, it was all geared. 20 years was devoted to just beating one man at one specific location. And it was nuts, and they did it. You know what I'm talking about? They pulled off a fucking miracle. That's what they're all doing. It's like, we got to make sure he does this elephants. We got to make sure, he doesn't have any reinforcements. We got to make sure that all of his good troops are not then and there because they weren't his best troops. All his veterans were elsewhere in Italy. But the point of it was, you could arguably say it. I mean, Scipio was a great general by no sense of means. But he came from a long line of generals. He knew what he was doing. I mean, it was all the subordinates around him that were just as good as him, that knew exactly what they had to do. He was a driving force to beat. The point is that you cannot, or have some insurmountable thing that your time and effort is not spent going after Hannibal, after going after China and outproducing them. We could pull as much stuff as we can. We could rip off that bounty and put everything we can over here. We could definitely do that. But it's okay. It's okay if we can. If from here forward, everything is made within the United States. Because what we're going to do is we're going to send our talent where it does the most good. It's going to be in the space industry. Don't try to be reactionary about all the current products and IPs that we have now. Because we're going to be dancing their tune and adjusting to what they got. Don't do that. Regain that initiative. Make them dance to our tune. Go out in space and start our technologies out there. Our minds, our talent, our top 20%, top 10%. And that's what we got to do. It's a long-term strategy. So, that's all I'm saying. That's all we got to do. So, it's more like a flanking move, like a long strategic, whatever you want to call it. go there where they're not, and um, make sure that we have more than a head start. Because it's basically democracy against a totalitarian state, because reality is that any democracy is already unified with us anyways. It just governing themselves, and they think like us, whatever, having voting, a real democracy. It's these other ones that could be disproportionately held by the income of the immense wealth that's out there. So what Spain had with the conquistadors, anyways, I mean, still be all right, with this trade war. I mean, all right. We do what we can. We mitigate it. Best thing to do is just pull it right off. Like, now, we're just not going to build out there. Not going to build in totalitarian regimes where they can control supply and demand and raw materials and the pricing, the workers and everything else, because we're beholden to their national priorities, not to our needs, talking about. It's like in our best interest to have everything here, safest for us, more profitable our standard of living will increase. So many different things, what I mean? I don't want to go as like, well, strategically it's for our national defense or whatever. But obviously, it's also that, but just the cost and being able to control R&D and be convenient, being able to just, quickly go over there instead of flying 1,000 miles away to figure out what the fuck's going on, it's so much better on so many different levels. As one, that's what I was getting at. I can't sleep. Got it off my system, out of my chest or whatever. Yeah, so still working on everything. I actually have an SM7B on its way, arriving tomorrow. But I probably won't open that up till Christmas. But I'm getting probably 3 more mics, whatever, anyways. Because that mic is actually going to be dedicated to my gaming mic, and then I'm going to get another, probably blue kiwi. Is it kiwi? The kiwi one. So this would be the blue Yeti, but the kiwi mic, probably that one. The stereo mics. So what's good with the SN7B is like you got to lean into it and it'd be like, oh hey, blah blah, and it won't even pick up nothing. So that'd be it could go in for game chat or whatever. That's good. But I have even better mic for this regular talking like this. But that'll be for Christmas, and I'll figure out the audio a lot better because I got to get like 3 DACs or whatever for each. Yeah. So, and this actually Blue Yeti here would just be for my voice activation, like my voice dictating because I don't like typing. I just I despise it. I don't like typing at all. Writing, I just dictate it. It's a lot easier for me. So I need a good mic for it. But yeah, yeah. So I'm doing that. It's coming along, but it's just like more of a therapeutic thing, But it's good. I mean, all sense and means, but make progress every day. I actually ripped my calf. We call it tendon. I gotta. That's what really pisses me off. But I gotta at least do something. Keep moving. I don't want to stay idle, and that really threw me for a loop. Whatever. I'm alright. Gotta let it heal, and I'll be fine. It's the only thing that really kind of pisses me off. But this is what it is. But yeah, so this is just something I had set up to get me through that one class. I even have a better webcam coming in. There's not a camera. There's just a Brio, nothing big. So I had it up here as well. Do my little spiel for what I feel, how we could consolidate and make sure that we have the leading edge in aerospace, because we definitely need that. We are billionaires to compete to get up there, because there's people out there with immense wealth too. We need those. We need as many as we can within the United States, because we need to work that space problem until it becomes profitable. We need money to do that. You know? So it's what we need to do. We need to work as a country to get there. But anyways, that's all I want to say. Hopefully, that made me a little bit more tired. I'll leave it with that, and I'll see you in the next one. Right.